All right, clipless versus flat pedals. I've tried to avoid doing this video primarily because in the past when I've had discussions about it, written articles about it, I generally get told by somebody that is a flat pedal disciple that I'm an idiot for using clip-in pedals. So let me first say that I don't care what pedal people use. It's totally fine. I think each is appropriate in different situations. If you're unfamiliar with this controversy, I guess you could call it, I've mentioned in the past how pulling up on the back of the pedal stroke can be counterproductive. And I've done a couple of videos about it. I'll link them up here and I'll put them in the description below. And where this stems from is some research that shows us that by pulling up on the backstroke, you might actually be inhibiting some of the pushing down on the pedal stroke, or at least it's not significantly different from an efficiency standpoint. And some of the flat pedal disciples have taken this as, well, look, hey, that means that then flat pedals are what everybody should be using because the clip-in pedals don't make any difference. And I would definitely caution people to jump to this conclusion because we have to realize that, one, research is not black and white. There's a ton of gray area, and furthermore, research is tough. It's difficult to test for really more than one or two variables at any given time. And so the most you can say with any research is that in this very narrow set of circumstances, we found that this can happen sometimes. Basically they're very equivocal usually in the statements. And where this gets difficult is it's really hard to test in true real world situations and in all the possible situations that you would see. So especially for cycling is a sport that thrives on extremes. Case in point, a number of years ago, there was a bunch of power data that came out of a local stage race or a continental stage race here in the States. And there's been numerous instances of this happening before and since, but they looked at a particular team that was doing rather well in this stage race. One of the interesting things about it is that over the course of this pro race, the average wattage for a rider that was finishing in the top 40 or 50 was about, I think it was 170 or 175 watts. It's 175 watts is not very much. So does this mean anybody can ride in these races and finish in the top 50? And the answer is absolutely not. The difference is because that's average wattage. The selection or the extremes occur through the race. And so we know it when we're racing as a selection happens. Basically someone goes off the front, or you have to bridge a gap, or some move gets made and you have to put out an effort. Usually these efforts are anywhere from, say, 1 to 6 minutes long, and they can range from 300 and something watts to 800 watts or 900 watts even for very brief periods. And so you have to be able to do these very specific and these very extreme levels of effort for brief periods of time. If you are able to do at 2.5 minutes, for 2.5 minutes you can crank out 620 watts. But the selection that was made at this for 2.5 minutes was at 635 watts, you're kind of out of luck. Cycling is definitely a sport where the difference between first place and 50th place might be just a couple of watts, literally in a couple of different very brief periods during a stage race. So I use this just to illustrate that, again, we're talking about extremes and very particular and sometimes very difficult to test for scenarios. Cycling is full of these things. So now when we're talking about the argument between clipless pedals and flat pedals, are they is one better than the other? We kind of have to look at the different extremes in cycling. So let's say you're 40 minutes into a long climb. All of a sudden you hit a 12% grade. Many people would want to kind of change their pedal stroke a little bit. Are you able to do this in the same way on flat pedals as on clip-in pedals? I don't know. Or let's say you're 3 hours into a ride. Are your muscles fatigued in the same way, in the same pattern, with the same motor recruitment on flats as in clip-ins? Again, I don't know for sure. There's not anything this is a difficult thing to test for. We do know through research that our motor recruitment changes as we fatigue on a ride, but does it fatigue in the same way on both pedals? And the easiest one is the sprint. On a sprint, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find that many people that would really be in a group sprint or a bunch sprint or something and and want to give up their clip-in pedals just for the security where you don't have to even think about being engaged. You can just focus on putting the power out. So again, we have all these extreme scenarios. It can be very difficult to test for. And let's be clear, the best that flat pedals can say is that they are equal, or they are no different. Now, I'm actually hard-pressed to believe this, again, based on some of these scenarios I was just mentioning about these, more extreme situations or difficult to quantify situations. But again, if the research is saying, hey, there's not that much of difference in this for these parameters between the two pedals, then that's the best you can say. You can't say that they're better than clip-in pedals. And unfortunately, that's where some of the people that use these pedals that are truly kind of have drank the Kool-Aid and are disciples of it, where they kind of go off the rails a little bit. And I generally hear two arguments about why flats are better than clip-in pedals. Sure, there's always the one where, oh, well, I don't have to worry about getting out of my pedals and I fall over. Well, I mean, that might happen. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I fell over on my clip-in pedals. It happens, certainly, but so too does, like, when you have flat pedals with the pins in them and they swing around and strafe your shin. That's kind of a bummer too. But I get it. If you're not comfortable in clip-in pedals, no big deal. Use flat pedals. The second sort of myth is that clip-in pedals are bad for your knees. They ruin your knees, is what I hear. And this just isn't true. There's really not anything to back this up. Sometimes people bring up, oh, well, the flat pedals allow they make up some terms like, oh, it's like barefoot pedaling, or if, especially when barefoot running was really popular. They don't use that one so much anymore, especially with the way barefoot running has gone, but that's another story. Or functional pedal stroke, I think that was another one. Anyways, so as I mentioned, I've done bike fits on people with clip-in pedals and people with flat pedals, and frankly, the foot mechanics of everything are roughly the same. And then this leads me kind of to the third one, is that, oh, well, the flat pedals allow you to put your forefoot a lot further forward on the pedal, get your midfoot over the pedal axle, and this really helps you engage your glutes more. Maybe, but we're also, if we look at the research, we've actually looked at midfoot pedal placement, and they've actually found that there's not a significant difference in some studies, again. And this is, for me, I'm someone who I think midfoot placement is something that could benefit some riders in some situations. If if you want to use that, this allows me to put my midfoot over the pedal spindle, and that makes me more powerful because I can use the glute muscles. Sure, but this also isn't supported by research necessarily either. So you have to accept the research that negates your worldview as well as the one that affirms it. So I'm not going through this whole video to disabuse anyone from using flat pedals or saying that clip-ins are absolutely the way to go. Again, I think they have their place. If it can be personal preference, if you don't want to use clip-ins, that's totally fine. Where I run into a little bit of issue is where I hear people really say that, oh, well, this is the flat pedals are absolutely better than the clip-in pedals. Yeah, I don't know. I think you'd have, again, hard time convincing people that are clip-in disciples of this, as well as the fact that it's hard to get past this idea that basically the entire road professional ranks, as well as triathlon, cyclocross, and I would say the high 90% of mountain biking use clip-in pedals. I have heard a few people say that they think it's just the pedal manufacturers are basically making this. It's like a conspiracy. I'm not sure if you believe in big pedal as a conspiracy, you might have other problems, because these are not big companies with a lot of clout. So, and believe me, if any pro racer thought that riding flats was going to help them or give them an edge or keep them from getting injured in some way, they would absolutely do it. So, anyways, love to hear your thoughts. Do you use flat pedals? Do you use clip-in pedals? Do you use both? Let me know your experiences down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.